Hey y'all, today I want to talk about how much you should charge in your business that you just started up or if it's a side gig, and talk about a little bit about how those numbers behind that work and what you should be looking for. A lot of the people that talk about this out there, whether it's in blogs or other videos, they tell you how to find those numbers on the internet by going to Glassdoor or comparing what other people charge for the same service as you are providing. But they really don't go into the metrics behind it, and I'd like to show you a bit about the numbers. And you could be starting a business because you left your job, your boss was abusive and you hated the environment, whatever it is. I actually am a big believer that if you have the ability to go out there and go start a business, you should. And the reasoning is because I'm an accountant and I learned through many years of seeing other people's payroll and how much other people make, that the job of an employer is to pay you as little as they can for the most amount of work that you can provide. That is their job. And most people probably don't think about that. It's a little bit of a cruel thing to think about. But if HR is not doing that, if they're not paying you as little as they can for the most amount of work that you could provide, then they're doing their job wrong. And so they're trying to get the maximum amount of work out of you. And what that means inherently is that if you have the ability to go out there and start a business and get those clients, that you have the ability to make much more. And today I want to show you a little bit about the numbers behind that and how they work and how I arrived at them. Okay, so here is a little sheet that I made up that compares the numbers at a job to the numbers at a business. And you probably know what you were making, what your salary was. And you probably also have a rough idea of how many hours per year you worked. The way I calculated that in the base, there's 47 weeks, and the average worker, let's say, works 8-hour day, so it's 40 hours per week. So you multiply that and you get 1,880 hours per year worked. Now, if your number is very different than that, then you can go ahead and calculate that differently. If you request a spreadsheet, by the way, I'd be happy to share it with you so you can put your own numbers in there. So let's say you had a salary of $65,000, okay? Now, your employer, their only expense for employing you as an employee is not just that $65,000. There are other right here. So there's office space costs, and this I calculated on the average overall square footage that an employee uses. So that would be your office or cubicle space plus a percentage of the common area, so hallways and all of that, times the price per square foot of real estate, of office rental in your area. Now, if you live, this is a number for cities like Atlanta or Houston, where I live. If you lived in San Francisco or New York, for example, this number the price per square footage wouldn't be $30 a year. It would be more like $60 to $70 a year. And then also you can change it, how many square feet you use approximately. But it gives you an office space cost per employee of about $7,500 a year, plus payroll taxes. The employer pays 7.65% of your salary in payroll taxes, just like you do. You pay the other 7.65% of salaries up to $130,000 right now. Then I calculated 2.5% overhead. It might be more than that depending on the perks. You know, they might be paying for medical insurance for you, all sorts of different things. So you can kind of try to, but this is a little guide on kind of to give you a rough idea of how much you are making. So you can do this by yourself by making a spreadsheet and calculating the total cost that your employer pays to have you as an employee. And then if you divide that number, that 79,000, by the amount of hours that you worked in a year, you get $42 per hour is their cost for you. Okay, so that's what they are paying to have you as an employee, approximately. Now, please keep in mind that what your company makes off of you, not what they pay you or what their cost for you is, what they actually make off of you. For example, as an accountant, I may have been getting paid $30, $40 an hour, but I knew my billing rate. They may have been billing 120, 140, whatever it is, even sometimes 3, 4, 5 times your pay rate. This is how much you take home from that. So before federal income taxes, because it's 7.65% of your payroll. So that would bring you down to a net of 60,000 before obviously medical insurance, whatever it is, else they take out of your payroll, tuition, many different things. But this is your net before that, before any other expenses. And then per hour work, this is what you're taking home. So you're taking home let's say $32 an hour. Obviously you can change these numbers. Let's say you're not working 40 hours a week. Let's say you're actually working 50 hours a week, like lots of people out there on average. Then look at how those numbers change. If you're working 50 hours a week, then your number right here per hour work, their cost for you is $34, and they're still probably charging that same $80 for that service that you're providing. And over here you're getting $25 an hour. And some people may be shocked because these are numbers that I did. I billed these many hours at a job that I was getting paid $65,000 an hour. So for a business, and some of these assumptions for a business are a little bit different. When you run your own business, you can't always be billing. You can bill, a percentage of the total time that you put into your business, because when you're running your business, you got to do other things. You don't have an accounting department behind you when you start out. You don't have a marketing department. You don't have a CFO and a CEO. You don't have all of that. So there are little things that you have to pick up. So if you see over here, I had 1,880 hours over there, but now 2,350. So let's say a percentage of that. Let's change this to equal 85 times this number right here. So 85% of that, okay? That gives you 1,997 hours you bill during the year. And then the remainder between that time is going to be hours that you spent marketing, doing research, unbillable things that you need to do to run a business. Then's the billing rate. I'll come back and talk about this afterwards. I just want to explain this all to you so you understand what it is. Total billed is your hours billed times your billing rate. It's 119,000. Your percentage collectible. Now this is a number that can be changed. If you're working only with clients that you've worked for a long time and you know them and they're never gonna, they're always gonna pay their bills. I mean that might be close 100%. I would say it's always at best it's gonna be, well, let's say like 97, because a client may complain about, you might have to write off an hour because you're like, I shouldn't really bill for that. Okay, so that gets you to gross sales of 116,000. Now, there's some expenses that you're gonna have. Let's say your office at home. So I'm going to put in $1,800 because other costs. This I did as a percentage. I put it as 5%. Just think about what your costs will be. and kind of make a estimate for that. So that comes down to your net before taxes of $108,000. Then you have self-employment taxes. Now, when you're self-employed, you pay both the employer and employee portions of payroll taxes, which it's called self-employment taxes. You get 15.3% of your net before taxes, and that gives you $16,595 for a net income of $91,867, and that gives you your net per hour of $42. Now, just a little bit of a word on your net income. You actually are going to be paying less if this net number and this net number were the same. You'd actually be getting more at the end of the day in the business scenario, because you have two deductions against federal income tax from your business. There's a qualified business deduction right now that started a few years ago, and then there is half of your self-employment taxes you get to take as a deduction from net income to arrive at federal taxable income after self-employment taxes, which is complicated. I can make another video on that if you'd like, but it's a different subject for a different time. But on a number like this, you will have saved in federal income taxes versus a situation in which you had the same amount from your job. You'll save a few $1,000s on that. So this number would actually be higher. Now to the billing rate, which is what I made this video for. And I hope you understand why I went through all of that. I hope it helps you understand a little bit more about why I'm going to talk to you now about the billing rate of $60. Remember when I said that in a job that was paying you $65,000 a year, they were probably billing that out at about $80 and you're netting about $25. Their cost is somewhere between $30 and $40 for that labor that you did. Now, a big company that provides a service is generally going to be able to command a little bit more for their services because they have a lot of reviews, because they have a lot of clients, and they have demand. So they're able to charge more for their hourly rate than you can. And that's not going to change. When you start your business, you have to realize that you won't be able to charge as much. But the good news is that more of it is going to go to your pocket versus to the corporation's pocket that you used to work for. Let's say you change this number to 40, okay? Because we talked about, at the same amount of hours that you would have worked, you would have been netting their cost for you would have been 40. So let's say you just cover your cost. If you look at that, you're going to be working less hours technically and billing less hours, and your net income is still going to be $60,000, which is the same amount as what you would have netted off your job. Plus, if you remember, there's some savings from self-employment taxes. So you're going to be getting a little bit more. I would recommend that, I don't think there's any professional that I would say out there should be charging less than $60 an hour. I really don't. If you're a professional at what you do, if you're a senior level marketer, if you were making $65,000 before, you should be charging $60 an hour, because you were obviously in a position where you were good at what you did. You had either a credential like a CPA, or you were a good accountant, or you've been in marketing for 5 years and your clients love you. Whatever it is, you're doing okay. You're good at what you do. And so I would say that $60 an hour for somebody like that. I mean, there are tutors out there that charge $40, $50 an hour for kids. There are all sorts of services that make more than that have no requirement for a college degree. So I would say the minimum you should start out for a consultant or marketer or anything like that, if you're good at what you do and you provide good customer service, it's $60 an hour. And and it could go up from there. I would say if you're nervous about where to start from, though, start lower, a little bit lower, but start more than what your old employer's cost was for you. Start higher than that, because they're definitely making money off of you. That's the purpose of you working in a company. They're going to use you to make more profits. If you weren't making more profits, you wouldn't be there, or you shouldn't be there. So if you add to the company, then they're making something off of you, and therefore your value is more than what their cost is for you. So that brings me to add on above what you were making there, and above what their cost was for you, and but reasonable. I mean, if you know your billing rate was $65 an hour, you should, and you were at a big company, you may not be able to bill that much. You may have to bill $40 an hour. But if your rate was $80, $90 an hour, then you should be billing $60 an hour. I hope this helps. Please like and subscribe if you like this video and you want to see more like it. Please comment down below what you would like to see in the next video, what you would like it to be about, or if you have any questions. I really appreciate you watching this. Have a great day.